Hello and welcome to Be Here Now, where presence invites perspective and allows peace. We are live on the new streaming network. It's written a little different on the screen today. We're live on the new streaming network.com, TV and podcasts, as well as WGSN-DB Going Solo Radio. If you would like to provide some free support for Janice and I on the show here, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I am your co-host, Judy Forder, and I am here with my special guest co-host in peace, Mr. Greg Pituch. Greg! Oh, Greg in the house. Thank you so much for agreeing. Janice, I will tell everyone, Janice is having shoulder surgery today. That's why she's not here. So please send some extra love, positive vibes, and prayers for a smooth procedure and a speedy recovery. But I reached out to Greg and I was like, hey, Janice can't do the show. Do you think he'd be interested? And he's like, sure. Oh, come on, no problem. So Greg is actually here. He's back to talk more about his XinXin Ming text that he explores and interprets. But the special thing about his appearance today is he has also written a journal companion, the Daily Reflections. He took parts of the ancient text, has put them in a journal for people to reflect on and see what comes up within them. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity for us to A, promote the journal here, and B, have Greg share with us more of his insights from this beautiful ancient text. So yeah, you know, nothing little we want from you here today. Just give us the wisdom to change the world.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah, we'll definitely go through it for sure.
Excellent. Before we do that, we just want to mention Janice never wants me to forget to mention that we are a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit. And if you would like to support us by making a tax-free donation, you can go to our website, www.peacefulempowermentworks.org. And there's a donation button at the top of the page and at the bottom. So if you do that, we are very grateful. Thank you so much. All right. So here we go. Greg, we're going to dive right in.
All right, let's do it.
For those of you who have not seen Greg, he's been on the show. This is your third time back, right?
Yeah, this is my third time. Yeah. Once for nutrition and then once for, I think just like this kind of, like this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the one that introduced me to this XinXin Ming. And I was like, what is that? And he started to tell me it. I was like, you need to come on a show and talk about that. And then
right. Yeah, I remember that.
He went on a show and talked about it. And now he's writing a book about it. And he has this companion journal. So we're super excited for the progression that we are able to witness and document here on the show.
Yeah, that's right. I know. I kind of like I don't want to say I put the cart before the horse, but the journal companion was like done and just ready to be, brought out before the actual book. Cause I was going to originally do the book, do the journal companion and, put them out together. But yet separate as well. I mean, people could buy one or the other or both at the same time.
Right.
But just to bring awareness of it. And I personally love, the poem or the manuscript, the text, whatever you want to call it, so much that, the journal was ready to go. It just felt like a natural process to put out. So, so it was put out. And then the book right now is being edited and kind of loose ends tied up and finished. And then it'll be put out in the next few months, because the process is always a little bit longer than what you think it's going to be.
Right. So it'll be sometime early 2026. Maybe.
Yeah. Since this is already November, there's no way it's going to be out in 2025. I mean, definitely realistically speaking with how everything works, just especially now because this is a book, putting it out through like the Amazon, the digital publishing like site. You have to upload everything to it, and then they have to review everything. And because my book is an original work, compared to me, creating a journal from an already written, piece of work, there's pictures that have to be reviewed, and the picture and the photo credits, and then all of the text and the formatting for each page. So there's actually, as I learned, a lot more to it than just throwing some stuff together, putting it out there, and away it goes. There's way more to it than that.
Yeah, there's a lot more logistical things.
Yeah. And it's just, a lot of it's just waiting and kind of just, messing with the sizes of stuff and messing with margins. Once it's all created, that's really where, some of the hiccups occur. You just have to sort of, work with some things and just kind of move some stuff around.
So the writing was the easy part.
The writing, just came natural. The writing is the easiest part. If I could just publish my messy handwriting, in my line pages, that non-edited and just in the crazy way that I write, then man, that'd be a piece of cake. But, you have to, go through and make it grammatically correct. And obviously the style is my own. So however I write is how I write. And that's the style that it's going to be in. But, when it comes to the grammar and the formatting and the paragraph structure, you want to keep all of that. You want to do it the right way, especially as it being a published piece of work. So.
Excellent. Okay. Yeah. So it's so funny that you said you may have put the cart before the horse. Well, that conversation may have been putting the cart before the horse, because there could be people here, believe it or not, that don't know who Greg Pituch is.
What? No way.
Right? Imagine that.
That's unbelievable.
I know. Greg Pituch is a spiritual teacher, writer, nutrition coach, and ultra runner, committed to guiding others toward wholeness and inner unity. I like that term, inner unity. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a good one. Yes. As devoted husband and father of 5. Yes, I said 5 beautiful children. Yep. He seeks to live and teach in alignment with values of balance, resilience, compassion, and lifelong growth. Rooted in the conviction that spiritual growth must integrate body, mind, and spirit, Greg blends his expertise in nutrition, endurance training, and contemplative practices. His writings and teachings invite people to walk the great way to oneness, an experiential path of connection beyond separation, grounded in mindfulness and authentic presence. His parenting and marriage are not separate domains, but integral arenas for deepening practice, compassion, and real-life embodiment of the wisdom he shares. Greg's life and work express a commitment to walking his path, balancing the demands of family, teaching, writing, and spiritual growth, while inviting others to discover their own path of greater wholeness, presence, and connection. That's a lot.
Yeah,
you do big things, man.
Sounds pretty darn good. I didn't realize that's who I was. I need to read the back of my book more often.
Sometimes we just need to be reminded.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so tell me and remind me, how did you come across this ancient text? How did you find this?
All right. So the way that I found this was I like listening to stuff, done by Ram Dass. And I was listening to one of his, lectures on one of the, streaming platforms. And he talked about the XinXin Ming. And, he was talking about the first line is, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. And everybody kind of gave a chuckle because that definitely oversimplifies, the path of life. Especially, nowadays in 2025, when all that we're ever faced with is judgments and opinions and pick this over that. And just all of the reality shows out there is always, pick somebody or marry just all the stuff that's out there nowadays. That's what it's all about. So, anyways, I heard that and I just was like, I wonder what that whole, manuscript or, poem, really does say, because that's a really, interesting first line.
Yeah, it is.
So I basically like Google searched, what document has, this line in it. And then it came up, the XinXin Ming came up. And honestly, the first one that came up is the one that I clicked on. And it was, the perfect one. I've read some different translated versions of it because there are multiple translated versions out there. And this is definitely the one that I, enjoy the most, so to speak. So then I just read it. And at that point in my life, I was doing just like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and just write, or I was writing at night or early in the morning, just writing stuff about, spiritual awakenings and peace and love and attachment and non-attachment, all sorts of stuff, like all sorts of family, raising kids, just things would just pop in my head and I would just write, pages upon pages.
Right.
And so then I got this and I was like, oh man, this is cool because this gives me something to like focus on and actually, write about, and actually like react to. So basically what happened was I printed it, and the way that it split it, like in the print version of it is just what I took. And then I had, I think 4 or 5 pages and I wrote like 1 or 2 liner kind of reactions or interpretations of what I thought that meant. And I did that for a while. I remember one time I was at my one daughter Cecilia's dance competition in Lancaster with screaming girls everywhere and like loud thumping music. And I was there with my XinXin Ming, like writing down reactions when she wasn't on stage, just because I thought it was just so interesting to do. I just really enjoyed, taking it in and seeing, what it meant for me.
Yeah.
And then
it's
after
funny,
that,
Greg,
after what's that? I'm sorry.
as you talk about that, I feel like you reading the lines and responding there, it's like I keep hearing you are accessing a different part of your brain.
Oh, I'm sure I was. Yeah.
Yeah, because
I mean,
different parts of your brain lighting up, and that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it was, I don't want to say challenging, but it was just so deep and it's so thought provoking with how it's written, because it was written back in like the 600s. And to read something about non-attachment and duality and how to live your life in the 600s, how can that be related today in 2025 was just, it was just so interesting to me. I just kind of fell in love with it. So, one thing led to another. And, I think you and like Amy, my wife, and different people, saw me doing this and they're like, hey, why don't you expand on this and maybe try to, make it into something more. So I was like, sure. Why not? So then I took every line and used my, original, I don't want to say reactions, but interpretations of it. Right. And then just expanded on it and then just wrote, various pages based on what I felt like it meant or how people could, use it in their life or how it pertains to them, nowadays. And then that's basically what my book is I'm trying to take what's said in this Tang dynasty, 600 through 900, AD manuscript and bring it into people's lives today and how it really does. It really does work out in our lives. I mean, if we can learn or if we can kind of get into the practice of, being in our own flow and, taking things for what they are and not always trying to make things something that they're not, that, our life does become, much simpler and much easier and, just less stressful and just it becomes more into like a flow instead of a grind.
So that being said, as you were moving through this process and those parts of your brains were being activated and you're giving your insights, providing your insights for this, how did you start to see your daily life shifting and changing?
Yeah, I mean, I really did. I mean, obviously, being human, I have, many, you know, I still have triggers and I still have things that catch me, like anybody else. But definitely through this process, and reading this, over and over again, and really thinking about how it can pertain to my life and how I can lead a life like this. My life has definitely shifted, for the better, because things that used to, like, maybe I would hold on to, or things that I would internalize, or maybe a look, or a non-response, or a response from people, you know what I mean? Or like a reaction would affect me personally, or I would take it personal, where, with this whole process of everything, I do know that everybody's going, on their own trips and on their own journeys. And, I can, stay in my lane, so to speak, and be on mine, and be open and allow others to be on theirs, and know that what they say and how they react or how they don't react is more of a reflection and a projection on what they're going through in their life, than trying to make me feel like crummy, or making me, you know what I mean? Or making me feel like a certain way, it's,
Right.
it's on them. It's really not on me. Now, if I do something to somebody that makes them feel a certain way, I mean, I'll apologize. Like, I'm not saying it's like this heartless moment, but you do start to realize, though, that you don't take everything as personal as what you might have used to, or you don't box yourself into titles and boundaries. You allow yourself to be more open, and kind of like have a like a will see type of, mind frame, not try to, push things into a space that maybe it shouldn't be pushed into.
Okay. So as you were learning more and more about attachment through this, because you and I were talking in the pregame meeting about how I was laughing because when I declared I wanted more peace in my life, it was one shit show after another. So when you started looking into attachment, were you able to start seeing where you had attachments in your life?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, because everybody had, I mean, I had attachments to, well, yeah, I mean, everybody has attachments right in their lives to different things, or different things are brought up. I mean, for sure. So, when you have like a girlfriend, boyfriend, a spouse, or when you have kids, or when you have a certain job and work with certain coworkers, or whenever you have, maybe not as much money, or whenever you have more than enough money, everybody has their attachments, to different things. And I definitely saw that in my life, and I was able to see how, because of my attachments to things, my life was more stressful than what it needed to be, because then with attachment comes expectation. And things don't, when things don't play out the way that you expect, to no fault of anybody's, because people aren't mind readers. They don't know how they're supposed to react in your, in your mind projection of what the future holds, or because you did A, you expect someone to do B. It's really, in essence, it's not fair to that person, because how are they supposed to know, and that's where attachment to other people's lives affecting your life is what I really saw. Because instead of relying upon others to bring joy to your life, or to, be dependent upon them, you just allow yourself to be in the moment. And yeah, I get joy from being with Amy. I get joy from watching my kids, do their thing. But in the same respect, if I'm not watching them do their thing, or let's say I'm not with Amy, having this great conversation, I'm also okay. Like I'm also, happy, because our happiness shouldn't depend on or be attached to, somebody else. We need to find that inner peace and that inner clarity and that inner happiness, because when you have that, then every moment that you're faced with is such a beautiful moment, because what's around you is what's meant to be around you at that time. And it's awesome. Like everything's just, not everything's great all the time, but, I'm not going to play that game. But I mean, there's, most of the time, things are really great if you really just stop and just see the true blessings, that we have in our life, and not worry about, all the small stuff that's going on around you, that kind of like latches onto you and then just like clings to you and just, kind of pushes you in and suffocates you and like weighs you down, for sure.
Absolutely. It's funny because the last couple of weeks I was working with a client, and I was trying to get understand attachment, and they said attachment is outsourcing. Companies outsource things to be done for them. Attachment is outsourcing. If you're attached to somebody because the way they make you feel, you're outsourcing your power to them. Because then if I say, Greg makes me feel happy and he's my source of happiness, and when Greg isn't around, I'm not happy, I've given my power to Greg. So I thought, well, that's a really grounded way for me to look at it, because that was, I understood attachment and I understand it, but that word outsourcing was like, ooh, because it feels like I'm plugging into someone else and they're running off of me. I'm giving them my power. So there was that. And then you said expectation, and I kept wondering, I kept hearing I had to wear this sweatshirt today, and it's my expectations are the cock block of the universe sweatshirt. So I was like, that's why I had to wear it.
But I mean, I look at sometimes, if I kind of think back on times when I've been stressed, or I've been, let's say, upset with somebody for some reason, a lot of it is rooted in, expectation. And once you have the release of expectation, then you can be more in the present moment, and you can just be happy for what things are, because it's like I said, you put unfair situations on people that they don't even know that they're playing out, because it's all in your head based on something that you may have done, or, well, I sent you this message.
Yes.
Well, don't expect them to send it back. Just send something because you want to, and just allow it to be. Don't expect a certain response, or a certain gift, or a certain, feeling of affection or emotion back from another person. Just be happy for what you've done, and kind of, live out your path the way that you want to. And that's where happiness comes from, is from within, and what you're doing, not what other people are, putting onto you.
Right. Or how they respond to what you're doing. If you're attached to the outcome, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. You really, truly are. Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for the hurts.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to take this opportunity to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. We have 2 topics we're going to try to hit from your journal and see what we can come up with.
All right.
All right. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to Be Here Now, where presence invites perspective and allows peace. We are here with our special co-host, Mr. Greg Pituch, and he's here to talk to us about the XinXin Journal Companion that he has created and made available for all people. It's a daily reflection to live free from duality and attachment. Prior to the break, we were talking about how Greg came upon this ancient text and what it has done for him and how it has helped him shift perspective and the many positive shifts in his life. So what we thought we would do now is take a couple. We're going to start with one journal entry that he has in his book for you to read and reflect on. And we're going to see what type of insight Greg can provide us with this excerpt. And it is, when the mind exists undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. What? Okay, unpack that one for us.
All right. Well, what I'll do first is I actually kind of, I read over what I wrote originally about this. So I'm going to read just an excerpt of that. That will be, like from my book. Excellent. And then maybe that can help to springboard us into a conversation, about this, about this phrase. So what I originally wrote was, when you have your lower ego, and, different people use different terms for lower ego, immature ego. Some people just use, whatever you want to replace, go for it, right? When you have your lower ego leading your thoughts in a particular realm of your life, then that's when you can gain offense to the words others speak, because you take them in, gather them, and allow them to mess with your mind. Based on their level of inner peace and vibrational state, that is what is generally projected. And they try to get you to join into their state, right? Like if you're a happy person, then you're trying to bring people into your happiness. If you're a frustrated person, right? Generally those frustrated people, kind of complain and voice their frustrations, and they want you to kind of buy into their, melodrama at that point in time, right? To make themselves like feel better,
Mm-hmm.
It says, but in the now with peace, their projections have nothing to stick to, because you are open to them being, and the words just flow right through you. So, a lot of this, when the mind exists undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. And when a thing can no longer offend, it ceases to exist in the old way. Basically the old way of thinking is that stressed, attached, bothered, like jealousy, like all of those, like kind of like lower vibrational states of emotion that we can kind of wrap ourselves in. Mm-hmm. They kind of, they don't exist. You don't give them fuel. You don't give them, like food to keep, manifesting themselves. You just, when you find inner peace and you find that there's no good, for those states anymore, then you're able to just allow others to feel what they feel, but you don't take on what they're projecting and give it back to them like a mirror would, and kind of perpetuate their state. You're just, I kind of see it as you're open. Mm-hmm. You allow them to be. You say, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, or, oh, that's interesting, or however it is that you, respond to them. And then you just kind of let it go from there. And then it kind of, once you remove the fuel to that fire, the fire really has nothing to burn anymore. So either, especially if you're around those types of people, they, a lot of times I found they just kind of tend to like look at you and just sort of, like, I don't know, walk away, or, try to find someone else to talk to, or, change the subject, because it's kind of like, well, that led nowhere, because I understand if someone's frustrated, or if someone's upset, or if someone's, going through something, but I'm not going to, perpetuate their suffering and, keep it going. Just be open to allow it to be, so that's when the mind exists undisturbed in the way, nothing in the world can offend. It's because you're not taking on what they're giving you. You're allowing it to take place, but you don't feel the need to, take it on as your own, and then help make them feel like they're suffering or they're a victim. They're only a victim because they're allowing their own minds to create the situation of victimhood, really.
Yeah. I feel like one of the biggest revelations is the prison or the box we feel that we've been placed in. We are the ones that placed us there. So as soon as we can see the prison we've put ourselves in, we can start to figure out where the key is and how to get us out. So I feel like this is one of the most, it's probably the biggest key, is exactly what you're saying. What's happening around you, if you just let it flow and you remain unmoved, the painting keeps coming to mind. If you can remain unmoved and unaffected by it, but almost be the observer. I'm watching it. I'm acknowledging it. I'm not dismissing it or stuffing it away. There it is. But I loved you saying you don't have to grab hold of it and make it yours.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's so important because we do, oftentimes we do take offense to what has happened towards us, or we are offended by someone's look or someone's reaction, or we hear a story, that's affecting people, and we take offense almost like for them. It's like we want to take on that burden with them and we want to make it our own suffering. But, really, when you think about that, it really doesn't do anybody any good, because all that it's doing is not allowing that person to move forward and get over it. You're helping to
perpetuate,
basically allow that person to stay in the past, and in that past moment that they're just, totally encapsulated with, and thinking about and replaying in their head and reliving those, reactionary emotions towards it, instead of just being able to, be open to it happened. Here's what's become of it. Here's where we are now. Let's just, let's move on. Why just keep going back to that, moment in time whenever, we don't have to.
Right. And I feel like you saying earlier, you learn not to take things personally because it's not about you. If somebody says something that can be interpreted as offensive, it's not about you. It's sharing something, it's giving you a little window into their world, into their mind, and how not only they feel about themselves, but they feel about the reality that they're in right now.
Yeah. Or even like, little things like, being a sports fan, when I was younger, I would let, like, if my team lost, how that could like ruin your day. But it's like, but why? Whenever you have nothing, it doesn't affect you in any way besides them maybe playing lousy, in your mind, and the other team playing better. I mean, you had no control over it. You didn't play in a play. You weren't calling anything, and so many people, everything is so sided, right? And so dualistic, nowadays, where, that's like, Amy and I, like, Amy grew up to be a Ravens fan and I'm a Steelers fan. It's like, people are like, oh my gosh, how can you live in the same house? It's like, oh, it's like, who cares? What's it matter? I mean, we're not affecting what's happening on the field. I just
Not
enjoy it for what it is and just let it go. But that's like that old mindset of like, everything can offend you, or everything can, upset you, or just, the smallest things, if they don't go your way, or if somebody doesn't buy into what you are, projecting outward. Well, how dare you, you're against me. Well, no, there's no sides to take. It's just, I'm not going to play into your melodrama right now. I respect that you're going through it, and I understand that you're going through it, but what's best is to take a step back and being able to witness yourself going through it, and asking yourself, okay, what is this, teaching about me, and how can I move forward, that whenever I'm, faced with the same situation, because you're going to be, until you get over it, because, you know, what you're going through is what's going to hit you, you know, constantly until finally you kind of realize what it is about that situation or about that, you know, whatever it is. Why does that, you know, trigger you, or why does that make you feel a certain way, or why is that doing what it's doing, you know?
Yeah. And every time you're offended, I found this, it really, you know, I don't want to talk politics so much, but they have used the gay and lesbian platform. They've politicized it. So there's people that, you know, of course, are against it. There are people that support it. And that was something, of course, that's near and dear to my heart. And people say really mean things. So there was a big part of me when, as soon as I hear the word offend, it takes me back to that time where I was sucked into being offended. And, you know, well, that's offensive and they shouldn't say that. And that hurts me and blah, 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 blah. And it was like, okay, let me just give them the keys to my car.
Right.
And I'm going to sit in the passenger seat and I'm going to let them drive my car as crazy and wherever they want. And I'm just going to sit in the passenger seat and bitch about it.
Right.
But I'm the one that gave them the keys. So once it was like, why, like you said, why are you doing this? It has no impact on them. Why are you letting it affect you? Does it really need to offend you? Do you really want to keep giving them your power? And it was like, no. And once algorithms, whatever we want to say about these fancy computers and technology these days, once I decided I wasn't going to feed into it anymore, it disappeared from my feeds on social media.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how it is in life, you know, like if, you know, if you're driving a car through a town and you're worried about running out of gas, you know, all you're going to see is either the number of gas stations or the lack of gas stations. Or if you're hungry, all you're going to notice about that town is the places to eat or the lack of places to eat, you know? So it's all the same thing. It's what your reality and focus on at that moment is, then that's what you're just constantly going to see, because that's what you're, you know, projecting out.
Yes. That's, you know, that's what the universe is hearing. What? You want to see more of that? Okay.
Right. And it just creates that suffering.
Yeah, we are master manifestors. We just don't realize it. We've created the hell we've lived in and the suffering. Now we're like, wait a minute, let's wake up. If we can create that, well, we can certainly create something different.
Definitely.
So, okay, do you feel complete with this one?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about these forever, but there was definitely two that we wanted to, you know, try to hit upon. So let's go to the second one.
All right, let's roll to the second one. Perfect. Just let things be in their own way, and there will be neither coming nor going. Obey the nature of things, your own nature, and you will walk freely and undisturbed.
Yeah, that's a great two lines too. And, you know, obviously that's going to mean, you know, different things to different people. The way that I interpreted it was, this is all about, like, you know, your life path, like your dharma, you know, whatever it is that you want to, you know, to call it your journey. I wrote, I have just two quick excerpts here. A journey has no dead end, only a lesson to be learned to allow the true path to be that much brighter, you know, as you know, progress forward on it. And don't think your journey is dependent upon another's journey. Sometimes people are on our path, you know, for different distances. You know, some people are on your path for a longer amount of time. You know, some people are in your life or on your path for a shorter amount of time, you know, and don't be afraid to let go. You know, you don't always have to hold on to people that were on your path just because they were on your path, you know, like, you know, like, for instance, like, you know, you and I, you know, our paths were much of our lives separate, And I mean, they still are separate, but then there have been many times where our paths have interconnected and intertwined and have became the same root as, it is right now. And then, when this is over, I mean, we'll still be with each other and connected, but, we definitely go our own directions because that's what our life holds. But, I feel like so often we try to, we tend to worry about the path of others and if they're doing the right thing and if they're making the right decision. And oh my gosh, can you believe that this person just did that? Well, that's their path to go on, and that's their, lessons to learn. And it's not for us to micromanage and to stress out and to worry about, what other people are doing. I mean, yeah, I worry about my, I don't say worry. I love my kids and, I love AIM and the rest of my family, but I'm also at the mindset of what they're doing and what they're going through is what they need to go through, for their life journey. And I don't mind giving them little pieces of, wisdom here and there. Wisdom, not that I have wisdom, but, just like little, you know what I'm saying? Like little, just like little tidbits here and there. But like, I enjoy seeing the decisions that they make. And, if something doesn't work out, what a blessing it is to talk about why it didn't work out and what that's taught them. Because so often now we see people just try to shield their children or shield their loved ones from everything.
Yes.
And keeping people in a bubble is never going to help them in life, because then they don't have that opportunity to grow and to live life and to, learn from different situations. And then when they're faced with something and you're not around, then their mind gets blown because they don't know what to do, because they've never been cultivated with, lessons learned or with ways to properly perhaps handle a situation because they've never been faced with it,
Yeah. It's, Katiana. I was sitting in a circle with Katiana, and she asked me how I could be so arrogant to think that it was my job to make other people happy. How do you know what other people need in order to be happy? How can you be so arrogant? But I'm just helping. I don't want my family and friends, the people that I love, to hurt. And she was like, why wouldn't you? I was like, well, because who wants suffering on the people they love? She was like, but you're not allowing them the opportunity to learn the lessons themselves. So yeah, absolutely. And with kids, with Matt, it's so hard with Maddie, because she's my baby. I don't want to see her suffering and struggling. Yet, yes, conscious parenting is what they call it now. But it's like holding that space for her where she knows that, learns that there is no failure. There are no mistakes. There are opportunities to learn. And no matter what you do, there's no judgment here.
Right.
And
go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, just to be able to hold that space. I'm learning that she's not the only one. It's everybody else that I love too. I still have been putting pressure on myself to be the savior, to go in and rescue, though the action hasn't been happening quite as much as it used to. So it's much better. The thoughts are still there. So you were talking about shoulding, those shoulding thoughts are still in there, and that's what I'm working through. But yes, this is perfect. Letting, walk freely and undisturbed, because I got enough of my own shit to deal with. I don't need to take on everybody else's.
Right. And we're not meant to. I mean, everybody has been given a path to take, and, they're meant to make their own decisions, and they're meant to go through, their own, what's the word? Just like their own experiences, right? To then branch out, their path to make it more clear, for them. But if, they're always having people interfere with their thought process, and they're having people almost like rake out a new path that they're not meant to go on because they feel like that's the path that they, like you said, should go on. But, they're looking at this saying, well, no, this is my illuminated pathway.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing, but all I see is, brambles and darkness and, the path continuously being covered up. Like, we don't sometimes listen or allow others to have a voice because we're so fixated on what we think they should do or we know best, or, well, we've lived this and this happened to us, so we don't want that to happen to you.
Exactly.
But what are we really, doing? I understand, as a parent, yes, I protect my children, but it's also such a beautiful thing to see them, make decisions and to go through, their life experiences, and then to be there for them, when something does happen, and to help alleviate, the suffering that has incurred. Because when you're there just and giving them an open space, and not like with the other excerpt, not piling on and saying, yes, I know why you're heartbroken, or but just allow them to be how they are and just be there for them, with even nothing to say, just be love with them, with open arms. And that goes with anybody that's, suffering on their path. If you're just open and you're just open and honestly there, for another person, no matter what they're going through, just how uplifting and, that can be for somebody, and actually how that can help to, break them out of that mindset and maybe look at that situation in a different way and learn from it, instead of thinking, oh, that was a horrible situation, I never want to be put in that situation again. Just that victimhood, mentality, if you will. I mean, and there is no wrong decision, really, when it comes right down to it. If they're going on a path, it's like I said, a journey has no dead end, just lessons to be learned. I mean, that's really what it's about. Just, and if we're open, to teach that and to, allow others to feel that, then people feel like they have the freedom to live their life and make, decisions and kind of, have their life experiences.
And the reality that people are going to choose to learn their lessons under fire or under ease and grace. And that's their choice. It's a choice. So, all right. We are already out of time.
It goes so fast. It always goes so fast.
It always flies.
Oh my goodness.
I have the link for Greg's book. You can find it on Amazon, in the companion journal. And Greg, I will screenshot these and put them under the post of the shows as well. All right. And then we also have Greg's contact information. If you want to reach out to him, follow his writings and his wisdom, you can find him on Instagram at Pituch66 or at Greg Pituch. Email gregorypituch@gmail.com, or his Facebook page, greg.pituch. And then there's a link for the Facebook page as well.
There's my beautiful family.
They are beautiful. I mean, y'all could model in a magazine. Greg, thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us. And we do look forward to having you back again.
I can't wait to be back. It'll be great to have that book out and talking about that next.
Excellent. Excellent. So we want to thank everybody for choosing to be here now with us. Send some prayers and extra shout outs to Janice, please. Yep. Please always remember, you are not alone, and don't ever forget you are awesome. We'll see you next week. Thank you, Silverio. Thank you, Greg. And thank you, everybody.